everyone, it's the Ranting Shop with me, Melissa. Welcome. Today we're going to be doing a quick review of Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 3, Episode 12, I believe. We're still in Vegas, and Marsau was talking about the fact that he's feeling depressed and he thinks happiness comes secondary to commitment. And for me, what that means is commitment equals sacrifice, and it could be sacrificing anything, sacrificing your happiness, sacrificing your individuality, sacrificing everything that makes you you. And to me, that's a very grim approach to marriage and commitment. I don't think it has to be that way. I just feel like that's the way Marsau has set it up in his brain, because I feel like, to be honest with you, at this point, his marriage to Tisha is something he is enduring. And I don't know if his end goal is, okay, let's wait until the kids get older or what. But it's definitely something it seems as if he's enduring as opposed to genuinely enjoying. And that is very sad. That is extremely sad. Today is everybody's last day in Vegas. Everyone is packing. Kimmy and Tisha talk a bit about Martell, Marsau. Tisha keeps saying he's never shown me this sensitive side. I've never gotten to see this aspect of him. So in a sense, it's like she's married, but she's a single parent, because marriage is about communication, and that's one aspect of their relationship that we've figured out is just not very good. They don't communicate with each other. They don't speak to each other. There's very little transparency, and I do see Tisha trying to get Marsau to be more open with her, but I just feel like he's just always been closed off. I don't think that this is a new thing that he's doing. He's always been closed off with her, and she struggled with that aspect of him and his stubbornness. And she's saying that it's something that she just has to deal with and move on. And I feel like it's something that she does not have to deal with. She chooses to deal with it for a reason that must stem back to the kids. And although she did not want to admit that she's with him for the kids, it's becoming more and more apparent that the children are what is keeping them together, because it's clearly not each other. They don't communicate with each other. Like, look at how she didn't even know he was depressed. Like, it was news to her. She had no idea. And he sees nothing wrong with not telling her certain things, and feels more comfortable with saying it in a room of people that some people he barely knows about something so serious like depression. That says a lot. And then they speak about compromise. Kimmy said that with the Scott men, time is something you have to compromise, because a lot of their time is spent hustling, working, doing what they have to do, and very little time is spent on family. And I suppose as wives of these men, that's something that you will have to come to terms with, because for them, finances are extremely important. Later on, we will see why finances are so important to them and why time with family comes secondary to that. Louis and Tiffany, Tiffany brought up Destiny and her wanting to resolve their issues, and I do think as if it's time for that issue to be resolved. Yes, we know Tiffany's a blabbermouth. Tiffany does not have a lot of coof. She comes off disingenuous sometimes with the information she spills and the time she chooses to reveal the information. But I feel like it's definitely something that needs to be spoken about and gotten over, because we cannot keep talking about the same thing. Like, it's almost like a broken record player. It's time for it to be resolved and for them to move on. So Kimmy repeats Martell's sentiments of not letting people in your marriage. And my issue with that is, okay, it's fair to not have people in your relationship, but Tisha was trying to get them professional help. She wasn't just trying to confide in Tom, Dick, and Harry. She genuinely put out a concerted effort to get them professional help, and he did not want to even listen to that perspective. He didn't want to and was not open to that perspective. And we're going to talk a little bit about why Marsau refuses to get professional or even outside opinions on his marriage. I don't necessarily feel like outside influence is necessarily bad, because I feel like a lot of the time when you're in your own bubble, something that is not normal, you might justify it as being normal. But it takes an outside party to come to you and say, hello, this is not normal. This is not something you should be accepting. This is not something that you should be living with. You should do something about it. I don't see anything wrong with it. The only time I'll see anything wrong with outside influences is if they're leading you to do something negative. But if it's only to out of genuine concern and to genuinely help you based on what you divulge about your relationship, I see nothing wrong with that. A lot of the time, the reason why people don't like outside influences in their relationships is because it forces them to do some hard, difficult work that they're not ready to do. They feel more comfortable just doing what they've always done, but what they've always done has not gotten them very far. So I don't see anything wrong with outside influences if those outside influences genuinely are aiming to help the relationship. And the only reason why they will not necessarily help is if the people in the relationship are not ready to take in or to consider getting the help that they need. So then the guys speak, Marsau, Martell, Maurice. And Marsau speaks about having a very heavy year. Apparently he's doing this project, and this project is very stressful and has been very stressful on him from the commencement of it. Martell speaks about him having or going through some type of depression, him not knowing why he wanted to or did not want to leave the house at certain points and stuff like that. And depression would come with the dissolution of how long was Mel and Martha's marriage? That long of a marriage. I think with any divorce, especially a divorce that came as a result of years being together, over 10 years being together, it will cause a depression, because the life as you know it is no longer what it is. Like, your reality has literally changed. And I do expect for Martell to have felt some type of depression. Marsau says he will never give up this much time for money again. So that's essentially what Kimmy is saying about the Scott men. Time for them is money, and they don't like wasting time because it equates to wasting money. But for me, it's like, if that time that you're sacrificing, because it seems like instead of sacrificing family for money, he's sacrificing money for family. And to me, that's a very terrible outlook on just his relationships, because what Kimmy is saying is that these women just have to endure the fact that these men are gonna be hustling and they're gonna be outside of the house 70% of the time, and they just have to cherish the 40% or 30% that they do get with their spouse, because that's all they'll get. And I just feel like it's very unfortunate to have to decide as a wife that I'm only gonna be able to get 40% of time with my husband. That's not 30% of time with my husband. Most of his time will be spent hustling and making money. And he says he feels like there's constantly things on his mind that he has to do. There's never a time where he's at rest. mentally. There's never a time where he's chilling mentally. Yes, he might take a break off work for this Vegas trip, but don't get it twisted. His mind is not at ease. His mind is not relaxed. He's still thinking about jobs that he has to complete, things that he has to do that he hasn't done. So for your mind to constantly be on work, regardless of whether you're working or not, it cannot be a good thing. There needs to be balance. Marsau feels depressed. Maurice agrees with Marsau that there is an imbalance of work and life with them. Okay? And the reason being is because they grew up in a very poor household, and I'm pretty sure it's a situation that they felt like they never wanted to be in again. So I think that is what drives both of them to work overtime, to not have to be in a situation where they're homeless. That's something they don't ever want to have to deal with. And although I do understand that, if you were single with that mindset, that's completely fine. It still wouldn't be fine, because technically you would be prioritizing work and money over your own mental health, and that's not good either. But now that you have a family to consider, it's like there's more for you to lose, but you still prioritize the hustling and the work above your family, and that is a problem. That is a huge problem. And I feel like Erica De Niro said something that was very profound when she was assessing Marsau. The way Marsau speaks to Letitia is abuse. It is extremely abusive. And it's not abusive in the regular context of abuse. It is abusive in regards to the fact that he refuses to listen to her. He almost gaslights her to make her feel like what she's feeling is not what she's feeling, or what she's thinking is not what it is. And that is extremely dangerous. And it may not be traditionally like physically beating somebody or verbally yelling at people, because he doesn't yell at her, but the way he communicates with her is very abusive. Because we don't see Tisha happy. Tisha is not happy. And Marsau is just being continuously stubborn, abusively stubborn. 1 week later, Mel and Tiffany speak at her company. She speaks about what happened, or how the God Said Go merch was created. She spoke about a social media comment that, sparked the idea for her God Said Go merchandise. She spoke about her not responding to Tiffany's message because she needed to detach from the Vegas trip where she and Martell were constantly fighting, and she said it put her in a bad headspace, a negative space. Her peace was compromised, and she just needed to detach so that she could find her peace again. And she apologized to Tiffany. She repeats that she and Martell cannot get along, and that Vegas trip was essentially proof that they should not ever be under one roof for an extended period of time. Martell meets Lewis. He's trying to get his son signed up for baseball with Lewis's company. Lewis owns some type of baseball training company. They speak about Mel and her having his kids sing that song and her purposely triggering him. Lewis speaks on possible anger management classes, because he mentioned the way that they had to hold Martell back. If they didn't, he would be all up in Mel's face. Who knows what he would have done to Mel. So even other people see that Martell definitely has anger issues. Then they talk about the kids. He mentions Mel has the kids with a babysitter 70% of the time because she's busy. He wants the kids full time. He mentions it will be a lot for him, but he's willing to sacrifice. Louis asked him how will Mel respond to that, and obviously she would not respond in a positive way, but I guess is being optimistic and saying maybe she'll say yes, or she'll probably say yes to him. Anyways, moving on. The Scots have dinner. Tisha looks like Miss Wanda. That's what Kimmy says. But she does look like her mom. Not only there, she always looks like her mom. Marsau claims to be depressed but doesn't want to do anything about it. That's why he was so against professional therapy. He doesn't want to do the work to solve his issues. He doesn't want to dig deeper and figure out why is it that you're choosing to almost have a cry for help but not do anything about it. Plus, people are saying it's a potential setup for a big reveal, which is him having another family. People are saying the streets of Huntsville are speaking very loudly and saying that Marsau has a whole other side family. People are also saying that he's not burnt out. He's not depressed. He's just burnt out from working too much to support Tisha and to support his other family. I don't know if that's true. I cannot confirm or deny that allegation. Tisha says she needs to, Marsau says to Tisha that she needs to listen more. And Kimmy mentions the problem may not necessarily be anything other than the spouse themselves. And Tisha is feeling like why would Kimmy say that I could potentially be the issue when I did not even know this man was depressed? And I do feel like it's unfair to say that Tisha could potentially be the reason for his depression when he's never even vocalized that to her. According to him, he implies that he does tell her things and she just it's almost like when he says it to her, she either doesn't comprehend it or doesn't really understand it, so she repeats it like it was never said to her. I don't know. That's something that you're gonna need to work on moving forward if they want at least a happy living situation. So who are you confiding in, Marsau? Marsau is not confiding in Maurice. He's not confiding in Martell. He's not confiding in his own wife. So who is he confiding in? Is it something that he's just choosing to hold in his mind and in his heart for long periods of time? Why did he feel the need to vocalize that at the Vegas trip? Why, out of any other place, did he choose to say that to a bunch of couples as opposed to his family or as opposed to his wife? That is very interesting to me. And that could also be a form of the abuse, because it might force Tisha to feel as if it's her fault that he's depressed. And Kimmy saying that it might be the spouse adds more fuel to the fire, because they're basically implying that Tisha is the cause of Marsau's depression. And I feel like it is extremely unfair to put that depression on her. It's not her fault he's depressed. It's his fault. She has no idea what she's doing that caused his depression. So yes, she might contribute to it. Maybe there's something she does that makes him depressed, or something that is not communicated amongst each other that makes him feel a certain way. But I wouldn't blame that on Tisha. I would blame that on the lack of communication and transparency in their relationship. If he continues to not include her in his mind space, then there will always be this problem. Depression is a big issue. The issue might stem from their poor upbringing, which I said before. Marsau is also very hard-headed. Even his brother brought up possible professional help, both of them taking counseling, and he still did not want to be open to that possibility. Martell and Mel meet and they speak on the Vegas trip about touching each other's triggers. I have to agree with Martell that I do think that Mel knows very well the triggers that she pulls with Martell, and Martell knows very well the triggers for Melody. For Melody to say that, oh, she doesn't know the trigger, because if she knew, and if they both knew that, then they wouldn't be poking at each other that much. I have to disagree with that. I feel like because they do know each other's triggers, that is the primary reason why they will keep poking each other's triggers, because they want to get each other upset. Martell claims he apologizes more than Mel does, and Mel did more than he did. Mel did things like leave the house for whole days at a time. She mentions, yes, she did leave the house, but she didn't leave the house with the intention of being with other people. She just did not want to deal with Martell sometimes. And she mentions not celebrating the first year of their marriage because of how he was speaking to her and disrespecting her. So his disrespect has been throughout the marriage. It has always been there. It's not something that just came about after the infidelity. He was always talking to her crazy. And they spoke about the infidelity again, about him deciding to, have extramarital affairs, and that playing a crucial role in how their children would have to be raised moving forward. And yes, that is a valid point, because if he didn't cheat and if you guys didn't get a divorce, there would be no issues as far as who would be there to take care of the kids. But because the unfortunate situation of Martell's infidelity took place, the dissolve of their marriage followed, and everything just crumbled as far as who takes care of the children. So Mel was trying to say that Martell is saying that all types of people are taking care of their kids at a time, like 3 babysitters in one day. And then Mel is trying to say that's not true. Most of the time, family members have the kids, whether it be her brother Marcus or her mother or his cousin. It's mostly family members that have the kids. And Martell was continuing to say that basically he doesn't want babysitters raising his children, and perhaps he should be given first right if Melody is busy and she is unable to care for the children. I have no issues with his demand of being, I guess, the first person to say, okay, here's the kids, I'm going here and there and there. But Melody's point is that Martell is also not very consistent when it comes to his turn with the kids. A lot of the time, well, I remember one specific time he had to have the kids, but he was somewhere else, and she had to end up being with the kids longer than she had to. And also she mentions the fact that the kids were at someone's house or with someone because it was his turn to be with the kids, but again, he was either late or he failed to come through at the agreed point in time. So Melody is not the only person that is busy and has to have the kids be cared for by other people. Martell is asking for 100% custody of the children, but the thing about it is he's just like Melody in regards to he will also be busy, and he will also not have time to be able to take care of the kids full time. So I feel like in that regard, Martell is being very hypocritical, because I think if he had the children full time, they would also be with other people. And he actually alludes to that being true too, because he mentions, yes, the children would be with other people, maybe 3 hours at a time, but either way, the children would also be with other people if the children were in your care. So your argument against Melody in some regards make no sense, and that may be what he was doing to poke at Melody, but I genuinely think that he is concerned about his kids, but I don't think the approach that he chose to take makes any sense. They discuss how many times and with whom the kids are with. Mel states that they're actually with family members. Martell is a hypocrite. And yes, that's basically the end of the episode. Let me know what you guys think about the latest episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, and see you next time for our next review. Ready to Love is coming soon. There's some tea about the cast members. I might post it later on. See you next time. Bye.